Good afternoon. My name is Alexander Calderón Reyes, and I'm going to talk about the movie Les Miserables. Victor Hugo spent in Besançon except for 2 years, 1811, 1812, in which he lived with his family in Madrid, where his father has been a prudent commander-in-chief with an early literary vocation. Already in 1816, he wrote a school note, I want to be Chateaubriand or nothing. Victor Hugo in 1827, in 1890, he stopped out in the Florida game Throws, of the Game of Throws and found the manage for L'Observateur literate along with his brother Albert and Eugenio, but his true introduction into the literary world occurred in 1822 with his first poetic work, Odas, and various poems in the preface in his drama Crowell, 1827. He rejected the rules of neoclassic theatre and proclaimed the principle of freedom in art and defining his time from the conflict between the spirit trend and the imprisonment in the carnage of man. Considering the founding manifesto of romance, the text later Victor Hugo on the head of the movement and his house became the headquarters of the Romantic Cenacle. From this new position as head of the rank of Romantic and second by figures such as Alphonse de Lamartine, Alfred de Musset, Charles Nadier, or Alfred de Vigny, Victor Hugo poetic virtuosity was revealed in Las Orientales, 1829, which sas- satisfied the taste of his contemporary of Oriental exoticism. The consortship of his five-act drama Marion delayed his appearance on the stage until the premiere of Hernani 1813, a masterpiece that turnbull and the comedy Frances. The representation of this drama constitute a real scale, but it also means the victory of the young romantic war over the old classicism and marked a milestone in literature or it break with the rigging normal of French tragedy in 1813. He began a pace of singular literary fecundity in which, in addition to different books of, of poetry, his first great novel of Lady of Paris and the drama Ray Blame Storm Out in 1841, he enters the French Academy but discouraged by the resulting failure of the Bourgade. He left the theater in 1843. The death of his daughter Leopoldine, which occurred was away, added to the disappointment of his wife. Betrayal with his friends there and pulled him into a deep crisis. Victor Hugo, 1876, delivered in an increasingly intense political activity, and Victor Hugo has and was named Peer of France in 1845. Despite stating in the 1848 election in support on the candidacy of Napoleon Bonaparte, he spent on preventing the afframe of Rome and the Falius law anticipated his break with the Conservation Party. On July and 17 and 8051, he divulged the dictatorial ambition of Napoleon, and after the coup, he fled to Belgium. He did he fled on Belgium. Although it's true that did not publish any work between 8043 and 8041, and 8051. He conserved his novel Les Miserables and composed numerous poems that appeared later. In 1852, he he slept with his family in Jersey, Kingdom, from where he went on USA in 1856. There he remained on his party in Haubigen House until 1815. A convinced republic, and he relation demonstrated the vision of his country conservation regime, and in 1859 rejected the amnesty of France by Napoleon XIII from and of Napoleon III were born a brilliant streak of satirical poetry, the trilogy of the end of Satan, God and the Legends of the Century, an example of physiological poetry, the which he traced the path of humanity toward trust and goodness for biblical time for his time. And his novel Les Miserables describes the situation of the humble classes. Back in Paris after the fall of Napoleon III, 1807, Victor Hugo was published acclaimed and elected deputy. He was defended in the following election, but in 1876 he obtained the seat of senator in Paris, a position from which he defeated the amnesty of the suppose of the Commons, however disillusioned by politicians. He returned to the House 1872, 1873. The pace of his production slower, but his prestige grew strengthening. A banquet commemorate earning first and 15th anniversary in 1881. His birthday was officially celebrated and the senator in the rostrum rose with an exception in his honor. Upon his death, the French government declared a day of national mourning, and his remains were transferred to the Patron and Brigade of one of the great French poets. His late influence on Baudelaire, Rimbaud, and Eben Majerman and the Surrealists is undeniable. Undeniable. The background story of this movie was about the French Revolution. The French Revolution was not something peaceful. There were many deaths of innocent people. There was a social and political conflict that had different periods of violence. The poor suffered a lot since they tried him like garbage. The economy was going down, so prices and the cost of living were going up. Arab surf and outbreaking of poverty and the most needy neighborhood were the ones that suffered the most. In the year 1827, there was many crops failure. John Valjean. Man was convicted for stealing a piece of bread to feed himself. Valjean is a person who was persecuted for hate things for the society that abound him when he must need his help. But still someone leading him and showing him to path he had to go. Fantine. She is a working woman who was abandoned by her husband when she was pregnant with Cosette. He had she had to work all his life to be able to pay off Cosette medicines. It is clear that Fantine will do anything to her daughter. An example of this is that she sold her hair, her teeth, and became a prostitute just to give the best to her daughter, something admirable to see. Fantine. She is a working woman who was abandoned by her husband when she was pregnant with Cosette. He had she had to work all his life to be able to pay off Cosette medicines. It is clear that Fantine will do anything to her daughter. An example of this is that she sold her hair, her teeth, and became a prostitute just to give the best to her daughter, something admirable to see. Cosette, her real name is Euphores, is the natural daughter of Fantine in Victor Hugo novel Les Miserables. Cosette's mother, and single working mother, enters her care for the Thénardier family, believe they will take good care of her, but she always met her, his servant, and mistake her. Marius. Marius grew up in a wealthy house, but not financial worry, whatever his family is divine but public, and it's not until he developed his own personality that he can believe and he can become world. Marius' loyalty are torn between his father, Lord Pardon Mercy, who is a colonel in the Napoleon Arms, and his Star Wars royal grandfather, M. M. Guillemard, will raise him, Mariusen up, falling in love with Cosette. Monsieur Thénardier, he is uncovered in Montfort and become a thief in Paris. He is married to Madame Thénardier. He and his wife demand more and more money for Fantine, for firing Cosette, leading Fantine to her deathbed. Monsieur Thénardier, he is uncovered in Montfort and become a thief in Paris. He is married to Madame Thénardier. He and his wife demand more and more money for Fantine, for firing Cosette, leading Fantine to her deathbed. Madame Thénardier. Madame Thénardier is the wife of Monsieur Thénardier. She takes care of Cosette until Jean Valjean take care away later. Later, Madame died in prison after her family is imprisoned. Thénardier's daughter, Eponine, who was in love with Marius, but Marius was in love with Cosette, thus breaking her heart into a thousand pieces because she knew she would never be with the man she wants. Bishop Myriel, also known as Montagnier Bienvenu, is the Bishop of Digne. His the great kidness never has a man driving force behind the John Valjean change of heart. John Valjean was sent to prison at the age of 5 for stealing a loaf of bread for his nephew who was about to die for diarrhea and ejaculate from hunger. He was sentenced to 5 years in prison, but through his numerous escape attempts, he remained in prison of 9 years. Of 90 years. At 46 years of age, she continually realized he is hosted by a priest at a night, but John steals silvers, his silvers and flees with them. But his eyes, but the guards will take him down to the pride house. However, he agreed with Valjean and tell the guards to that he himself had given him the cruel and gave him two candlesticks. As the guard leaves, the priest tells Jean Valjean to use the money he earned for selling his gift to become a useful man, because it is clear that this is what God wants for him. Valjean, full of gratitude, decides to leave behind the evil that has haunted him all those years and become a good and just man, and a just man. Over the years, he managed to become the mayor, nicknamed Mr. Madeleine, loved by the people for his kindness and justice, but Javed, one of the guard who was in charge of him in prison, thinks he recognized Jean Valjean in the mayor and filed a complaint against him. Meanwhile, Valjean's friends Fantine and take her to the hospital after the promise, find her daughter and take care of her. The next thing, Java apologized to Valjean for having devouring him after telling him that they have found the real Jean Valjean and that he will go to try a few days. Valjean is torn between letting the innocent than try up pleading ultimately declined to the letters on the same day Fantine died. Javert gone to the hospital to arrest Valjean, but he escaped and gone for Cosette, Fantine's daughter, who he took with him. Valjean take care of Cosette as if she were his own daughter for the next 9 years. When she discovered that the young woman is in love handsome with the handsome student Marius, she is jealous of him for waiting to snatch her daughter. However, when he finds out that Marius is the barricade, he does not hesitate to go to protect him, and there he meets Jabet, who was being discovered as a spy and bound and got by the revolutionaries. Valjean pretends to kill him, but instead unties him and gives him his freedom. It is Valjean to take the battle wonder Marius go to heal his wounds. When he was shot during the end sobered him the revolt and he met Javed again, who miracle let him escape, gave him bleeding for Marius and Cosette to marry, and tell Marius about his past, making him protect to not tell Cosette anything other than hiding for young man that was his saving on the barricade. But Jim flees and does not got his adoptive daughter waiting. Settings. The setting is French and Montreal, the red place that is here. Main conflict. The main conflict is thus when Jean Valjean confessed that he was prisoner to 4601, Javert went crazy looking for him to give him his sentence. The plot, the story of Jumbo John sentenced to prison for stealing a loaf of bread for his nephew was when he is released from prison, Jim Valjean and repeat his robbery, but the goodwill of a price made him reform his life. Tim, and it's Man versus Justice, because Jim Valjean found and to the last of the world to be the best and for the same thing that happened to him not to happen to them. Just for stealing something he needed for live, the feelings about fighting to get justice and right that every began human we have. That's all. Thank you for watching.